Hello and welcome to Theoretical Volume 1. I am James, aka Theory, here with you, starting something kind of new. This is going to be a little bit more of an editorial kind of a broadcast that I'm doing here. Kind of talking about what's going on in the game, specifically with Blizzard, and in this case with WoW. Some big news kind of came out this week. Blizzard actually dropped about 3 million subscribers from the peak at the launch of Warlords of Draenor. And it kind of got me thinking about a couple of different things. Really, what's 3 million actually mean? At a time when they actually just launched the WoW token, which should have increased revenues for them quite a bit. I mean, think about it. Every time somebody buys one of these tokens with gold, essentially they've just bought a month of gameplay for $5 more than what it would have cost before. So every time that happens, they make an extra $5. And there's an awful lot of folks who are buying these with gold and an awful lot of folks who are selling these after buying them with cash. What does the 3 million really mean at a time like that? I mean, obviously that $5 per token is definitely going to help out Blizzard. But 3 million subscribers in a month essentially calculates to $45 million a month. That's a lot of money. Even for a company who still has 7 million plus subscribers, $45 million a month is an awful lot. Especially when you consider that most of that at this point is probably not just revenue but profit. Obviously Blizzard's huge, but it doesn't take that much to run the company. Since you already have 7 million subscribers, that more than covers your cost. Fact of the matter is probably 1 million subscribers could cover their costs if they really needed it to. But $45 million a month, what does that mean? What does that mean to Blizzard? What kind of changes are on the horizon? Is this something really to be worried about? That's really kind of the question. And I welcome all you guys' comments and questions. Go ahead and put them on the video. Love to see them. I'll respond as much as I can. But the thing that I really am kind of questioning here at this point is, what are the reasons for it? At the end of every patch cycle or at the end of every expansion, there's usually a lull where some folks take a break. Some folks, just stop playing the game altogether. Other folks just decide that they're going to resub once the new content comes out. And that's kind of normal. That's what we usually see. But in this case, Blizzard made a lot of changes that really affected gameplay. Number one, obviously the raid difficulties are different now. Mythic, if you talk to top level raiders, even the guys that are at the very top, Mythic now is harder, especially on the second half of BRF, than what it was previously in SOO, for example, when it was still called Heroic. It just is more difficult. Even in Heroic and even normal, personal responsibility is much more of a part of the raiding game than it was previously. Yeah, there was a few instances of it. Things like Garage Fight, for example, one person being able to not kill the engineer and therefore wipe the raid. Yeah, there was small instances of that previously, but not in the larger scale that we see now. Now, in more than half the fights in BRF, one person could literally wipe the raid if they do something wrong or if they just make a mistake. And we see that happen more and more in the groups that I'm in, as far as, one person went down, battle res them, another person went down, we don't have a battle res, wipe it up, let's do it again. Where before, that one person may not have been as significant. If they did something dumb, they're gone. It's okay. We might still be able to do it. I'm not talking about tanks. I'm talking about healers. Mainly talking about DPS at this point. But it wasn't as big of an extreme when one person made a mistake before. And some of that gameplay is great. And to be honest, after hearing a few of the other, mythic level raiders and what they're saying, it makes sense to me in a mythic raid that it be like that. Because we're talking about the best of the best in that situation, but should it really be that way in Heroic? Should it really be that way in Normal? That's a great question. That's one that I would say no. Yes, we do want our content to get progressively harder, absolutely. But is that pushing people away? That's a question. And I'll leave the answer to you guys, what you guys think. Next thing that they really kind of changed is the way a lot of the classes work. Previously, and they've been doing this over time, classes had pretty much set rotations where they would do certain button presses over and over and over again unless they got a crazy proc, and it kind of made a lot of the classes really easy. For example, Arcane Mages, an expansion ago, it was considered a 2-button class because you basically just press those same 2 buttons unless something different happened, or unless it was an execute phase or something like that. You were literally pressing 2 buttons, which meant that a lot of the classes you could actually make macros, including almost all your abilities, and just spam one button. There was literally websites that talked about doing this and doing this the right way. And yes, there's still things like GNOME Sequencer, for example, which allows you to do some of those kind of things. But even then, when you use those, as complex as they are, you're not putting out the kind of numbers that you could if you really knew your class and was paying attention. So how does that hinder folks? Well, obviously it makes it a little bit more difficult for people to put out good numbers if they don't really know their class, which means folks who play a lot of alts, for example, are definitely at a disadvantage on their alts than they would be on their mains, the characters that they really know inside and out, and what to do in certain situations under certain procs. That's kind of normal. But then when the difference between a good DPS and a bad DPS is double, and we're talking 20,000 to 40,000 to 60,000, going from a okay DPS to a top-notch DPS, and sometimes even higher, it becomes more of an issue. Several expansions ago, when the top numbers people were putting out were, 4K, if you only did 1,500 or 2K, you weren't that much of a detriment. Was that person able to double your damage? Yes. They couldn't triple it. They couldn't quadruple it. That's the kind of thing that I think kind of is pushing some folks away as well. Just the fact that it's that much harder to be proficient in your class, especially if you don't have that much time to dedicate to it, or if you're playing many different characters. Let me know what you think about that. So those are my thoughts for this actual episode. Definitely want you guys to respond to me. Tell me what you think. Once again, this is James, aka Theory, for Theoretical, Volume 1, What's 3 Million? We'll see you guys next time.